Peter and I are colleagues and friends from, 20 plus years ago. Fascinating, very broad range of entrepreneurial successes in different, and he'll tell you more about his latest later today. Peter's in from Dubai, South Korea, you were in India earlier this month, so thank you so much for stopping in at the Piraeus Yacht Club. Peter.
So let's look ahead. We're going to go older, lives are going to stretch out, and because lives are stretching out, not because we have more children, we're going to have a lot more people on our planet. We are about 8 billion people now. 5 billion of us live close to the equator, plus or minus 30 degrees around the equator. Those patches of people around the equator will become economically much more powerful and economically much more active. Female empowerment is real in all of those economies moving along, so we're going to have a lot more people contributing economically from those areas. If they, you called it politically, and I'd say corruption, if corruption is predictable or reasonably low, then they will grow incredibly fast, and a lot of those economies will not because they'll fail on those tests. But a lot of them will grow very, very quickly, and this means from a regulatory standpoint that we're going to have many new jurisdictions with active regulation which is useful for providing various types of services. So we're going to have a lot more activity. And I wouldn't call it a power shift from here to there, or from the US to there, no. Forget Europe, forget US. They have their own style. And they're growing up with their own styles and so forth. And to some extent, they're impressed and they copy what we do, whatever. But to a great extent, they don't care because there are not many of us. Countries like Nigeria are going to be huge, 200 million people. All right, 100 million are poor, but 100 million are not going to be poor. Just Nigeria is half of Europe in terms of population. Europe geographically, not politically. So I think we're going to see many, many developments in those areas. Uruguay is flying. It's a small country, but it's setting an example. And the reason Uruguay is flying is because they don't have oil and so forth, which means that it's not worth making it corrupt. There's nothing to steal. So people have to actually do their work instead. So Uruguay is a flagship for Latin America. And I think a lot of Latin American countries will ultimately end up copying the way that people do things in Uruguay. So that will lift Latin America. Africa, many interesting countries. Middle East, I live in Dubai, currently 11 million people, used to be 1 million people 20 years ago. That'll go up to 20 million people at the end of this decade. Okay, but 20 million, but it's bigger than one thinks because people rent their life there for a little while and then they go home. So they don't do old people. So you do your thing, and when your work visa expires, your mobile phone goes, your bank account goes, everything goes, you have to leave. So that 20 million people at the end of this decade is going to be punching well above its weight. So it's an important player. And it's highly attractive to people in the region. So people from Pakistan like to come over because Dubai is not dirty and it's safe. People from India like to come over and so forth. Very, very easy to attract talent. I run a business there right now, not because it's low cost, not because it's low tax, but because there's a lot of talent there. It's very easy to get people, very brand name. So that's going to be important, Singapore important, and a whole bunch of economies. So all in all, I'm very interested in what's happening from that belt. I'm very interested in the huge increase in economically active people in that belt. How we're going to manage it, hell knows, because with the tools that are coming now, we're able to become so much more efficient that I don't know what we're going to do. We're too efficient. So let's see.
Thank you, Peter.